My fellow Ambalanders, Shake Day. This is Dr. CHO AYABA. I want to talk today about a series of issues, and I would like to be as slow as possible. What has kept us going up till this moment foundationally is knowledge. Knowledge has been very critical in understanding the barbarians, understanding our history, and the historical manipulations that have been used to weaken our resolves. And these manipulations have been propagated by our own. So sometimes it comes across as something to be considered, something making sense. Yesterday, I listened to an audio. I couldn't listen for long. I thought it was disgusting. It came from Dr. Akwanga. I will not talk about the content of the audio. What I want to address are the motivations behind some articulations that are being propagated out there. They are around the issue of international process of resolving our conflict versus a domestic approach that is preferred by the barbarians and their enablers within Amazonia. And I want to use this opportunity to explain to our people certain facts which will inform everyone about our decision, which will not change, will not be negotiated, about how and where the issues around the conflict shall be adjudicated. The question of where a conflict is resolved is an issue of the framing of the international system and international rules, laws, and norms. It is not only about conflicts, it is also about the primacy of the state as the primary arbiter of issues concerning individuals or remedies about violations. I know this may sound a bit complex. Let me break it down. Under international law, the state is the first jurisdiction where issues are dealt with. For example, when states sign multilateral treaties, let's say human rights treaties, take the case of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The international system does not have, kind of courts or other jurisdictions that you can easily deal with rights violations or instances where parties to treaties undermine treaties. They kind of exist, but they do not have enforcing powers like courts, where you have the police and you have other judicial authorities that can enforce outcomes of decisions by courts under the powers of the executive or the legislature. So what happens is, if, for example, your right to free speech is violated or you are tortured, you have to first bring a case within the state within which you live. you follow all the instances. It might be, for example, customary adjudications where you take it to the quarterhead, they try to resolve it. It doesn't, you take it to the court of first instance, and then you start escalating high court, and then you can take it right up to the Supreme Court. And if you do not find a solution, and you can escalate in the case of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the next instance is the Human Rights Committee. Usually sits there in Geneva to examine cases all the time. That's where Mukong took his case, Akwanga took his case, Gorgie and others have taken their cases after they could not get remedy from Cameroon. So the way the international system is structured is such that international laws and practices are not there to replace domestic primacy in dealing with these laws and practices. It is supplementary. But what if, so the international law says you must exhaust domestic remedies before you take your case to the international system. But what if domestic remedies don't exist? Or if they exist, but they do not provide a chance of success, or they take so long that justice delayed becomes justice denied. So when you file a case at the Human Rights Committee, you have to show cause, you have to show proof, you have to provide evidence that you have exhausted domestic remedy. One of the ways you show evidence is if the domestic remedies are there, but they do not provide a chance of success, or they take too long, it means it does not exist. The international system will consider the domestic jurisdiction not fulfilling the obligation of providing remedy to instances of right violations. So your case will be accepted even if you did not seek instances within the domestic jurisdiction to deal with the case. I would explain further why I'm using this basic example so you can understand the way the domestic interacts with the international, either in remedies concerning human rights violations or on issues of conflicts and remedies concerning those conflicts. So now let's extrapolate. Let's take from this particular argument now into the instance of a conflict. When there is a conflict, let's say, and let me use this opportunity. I've explained this many times, so we sometimes confuse conflict and war. Conflicts are the issues that you are accusing the other party of not being able to resolve, or accusing them of causing onto you. For example, the conflict with Cameroon is that of occupation. They've occupied our country. And the consequences of occupation are life deprivation, deprivation of liberty, and all other issues that deal with exploitation, extortion, and many others. So the conflict with Cameroon is occupation. The method in resolving this conflict, they can be dialogue, it can be negotiations, and it can also be civil disobedience. It can be direct actions, it can be boycotts, it can also be armed resistance. Now, so when there is a conflict and there are conflict parties, take the case of Ambazonia and Cameroon, we should realize why we have insisted that the conflict cannot be resolved within Cameroon. and that Cameroon does not have the legitimacy as one of the conflict parties, as the accused to adjudicate or to be the umpire in the conflict between itself and Ambazonia. And I will explain why. But let me I bring you back to the issue of exhaustion of domestic remedies. This audio might be long, but forgive me for that. Remember, in the case of human rights violations, I explained that to be able to jump jurisdiction, let's say to take your case from the domestic to the international, you have to show cause that you've tried all methods from the lower courts, high courts, Supreme Court, and you have not been able to get justice. In the case of conflict, it is almost the same, but it's not a prerequisite to jump jurisdiction. But in the case of Ambazonia and Cameroon, I want to show cause on how we have tried to use the domestic jurisdiction and have failed, which is, as I say, it's not even a prerequisite. We don't need to show cause. From 1961, Foncha, after the 11th of February and the 21st of April, Foncha tried to discuss with Cameroon following Resolution 1608, even without the premise of that resolution being fulfilled in terms of the presence of the United Kingdom and other parties. I have explained this one of my outings. Foncha tried, I think that was in the month of July, in discussions. Aijo simply brought in the Constitution of Cameroon, brought in French experts and others. And what Foncha were proposing were all just turned down. They engage. There is a principle in discussions which is very critical. It's the principle of good faith. When parties enter into agreements or sign treaties, they do so expecting that the parties to the treaty or to the contract or to the agreement will respect it. They do so expecting that those who negotiate, those who draft, those who sign and then ratify, do so with the intention of respecting it. Therefore, you have good faith. That is how international treaties function. Even though there are now instances of enforcement, there are remedial actions that can be taken by international bodies. You have arrest warrants now, you have confiscation of properties and things like that. But primarily, it is based on good faith. Cameroon has never been a good faith actor. It voted against Resolution 1608, then engaged to manipulate its premise. It did not believe in it. 11 years later, it overthrew the same constitution it had imposed on us with so-called peaceful revolution with a we or yes vote to institute the United Republic of Cameroon. February 1984, it unilaterally collapsed the so-called United Republic and imposed La République du Cameroun on us. From 1990 up till today, I have stated instances of efforts we have made, even using constitutional proposal to amend the unitary constitution to be able to bring back the federal system. They have rejected every method. Even in fighting for the GCE board, the University of Boya, it has been a Herculean task. The formation of the SDF was based on how Ambazonians could at least take power and manage their own country based on their own values. It was hemmed in, where the SDF thought they could take over urban councils, those guys imposed a government delegate where they say, okay, we will take over the rural councils. The DO became the guy that had to approve budgets. That is how these barbarians denied us even basic opportunities within the domestic jurisdiction to protect our identity, protect our way of lives. Anytime there was an issue, whether in terms of convening a sovereign national conference that could have laid the foundation for an emerging democratic state that would guarantee the rights of individuals and peoples, Cameroon was the only state that never convened one. It then convened grand large débat through telephone and faxes. Every instances that these barbarians have had to show good faith in how issues could be dealt with, they have failed. Students rise up in the University of Buea to ask for basic changes. They were shot at point blank range. I was dismissed from that university and banned. Akwanga was dismissed and banned. Just because you oppose certain policies of the enemy. Then AAC1, the Buea Declaration that cataloged our injustices, was rejected. AAC2, 1994, the Bamenda Proclamation that laid out a roadmap. Should La République fail to respect the Buea Declaration, that we were going to follow to restore our state. Water cannons were all over Bamenda, shooting at people. We conducted the signature referendum 1995 to show, since they were saying there was just a minority of Ambazonians that were clamoring for independence, we wanted to show that no, and the signature referendum was very clear. So we have tried everything at a domestic level. Not even to have independence, to have the structure of the state revisited, to have actions by the state of Cameroon against Ambazonians revisited. It has been rejected. Then 2016, before 2016, before you people saw the things that were going on, take from 2014, when lawyers and teachers started meeting, there were meetings upon meetings before we saw what was going on out there. We saw the brutality of the enemy. Lawyers are now in jail, teachers are in jail. Then we move, lawyers and teachers started talking about federalism, non-starter. They move into exile. They join the nationalists to advocate for what we have more than 35 years ago been talking about. That there is nothing these barbarians will do that will guarantee our existence, because they do not consider us as humans. They do not consider our humanity. They have distorted history until they themselves have started believing in the false narrative that there was some Cameroon that existed, which they are the mother state of that Cameroon. And they have the power of life and death to unite that Cameroon under one authority, which is them. That is the falsehood that is digging these barbarians into their own graves, using Ambazonians, pseudo intellectual historians, and barricaded advocates. Now, since 2017, that we launched the armed resistance against the war they declared on us. First, they denied we even existed. They call us terrorists, 2 cubes of sugar. They call us all sort of names, promised to destroy us in 2 weeks. When the inevitable was glaring at them with unmistaken clarity, they started forming bilingualism commission. They started playing their domestic shenanigans with the hope that they'll convince the vulnerables and the gullibles to buy into their delaying tactics. What they forgot to realize was within this struggle were veterans. Veterans who have gone through their manipulations and deceit and delaying tactics and were no longer interested in taking the bait. They believe that since we, in our own falsification, believe that history always begins with us, that the day we join this struggle, that is the day our own history of resistance began. That they were going to use that limited knowledge to manipulate us. And those who become used to this, their manipulation, will be termed as extremists. As I said the other day, the Ambazonian opposition to Cameroon's presence is not a historical fact of the 1960s. It is inherent in the Ambazonian in its opposition to foreign domination and oppression. It was manifested in the 19th century by Kuva Lekenye, demonstrated by the Bafut people, showed by the Asonganyis of Lebialem and the Fondom. So our strength, our opposition to foreign domination that has manifested itself in children, in girls and boys rising up on the streets of Bamenda 1990, students taking up even in the University of Yaoundé and Boya and everywhere, including the same Akwanga in Victoria, are things that are inherent in us. We are against injustice. We are against foreign domination. So why am I making this audio? I am making this audio because of the effort by some losers out there thinking that, they are going to take us back down into Cameroon to have some discussions with Cameroon on the future of Ambazonia. Or we are going to renegotiate or contemplate the outcome of total independence and freedom. So they've been using the Canada process to show that it was a failure, and so they must, we must succumb to the manipulation of Diongote's office. My people, Jesus. Now these are the facts. These are the facts. I want to state the facts about Canada. So any manipulator out there throwing some nonsense is wasting. They are wasting their time. As a leader, I'm not here to talk about the micro. Let me tell you people something. When you people see treaties, I know lawyers will listen to what I'm saying, and I think they have a better understanding, and they are more equipped than myself in understanding these facts. When you see a law, a constitution of a country, there have been several drafts of that law, that constitution. The drafting process is messy. The compromises that are made. That is why there is, in law, people who subscribe to a particular philosophy of law, they call them originalists, where they ask, what was the intent of the drafters? So, if they say everyone shall have a freedom of speech, that statement of law is subject to interpretation. And lawyers know it. You can interpret the spirit, you can interpret the intent of the drafters. And in doing so, sometimes researchers go to find out original drafts. If you look, for example, the 1948 Convention Against Genocide, if you go and look at the original draft that led now to compromises from the Soviet bloc and the Western Hemisphere bloc, you will discover that, the definition of genocide originally captured politicide, it captured even gendercide, it captured other aspects of genocide. And then negotiation watered it down. So it is very important for us to understand certain aspects So as a leader, when we go to a process, for example, Canada, there were so many little issues. Little issues. Are they really relevant to the outcome that we produce? They aren't. Historically, maybe. For researchers, yes. One day, maybe 30 years from today, when you go and look at the process of what came out from Canada, you are going to say, wow. Is this what the egg of Seas stood for? Is this what the APLM, was advocating? Is this what the IG first proposed? And then you will say, wow. The process was messy. But when leaders emerge in signing a treaty, what they do is they focus on the outcome. They hail everyone. That is why when I came out, I saluted the effort of Dr. Akwanga, that of Comrade Yerima, Jomba Akuru. I saw it as a collective endeavor, and I will not change that. It was a collective endeavor. Each group played its individual roles. I leave that to history. It's not a time to come and, bragging rights. No. Some roles are not issues to be discussed here. What did we achieve? I hear others are going around and making a lot of noise. What did Cameroon sign? For the first time in our history, Cameroon append its signature on a document that said, one, it will allow an international mediator to mediate the conflict between Cameroon and, listen carefully, not Noso, not Anglophone, not 2 cubes of sugar, not Le Biafran, not Le Bamenda. That an international mediator will mediate in the conflict between Cameroon and the former British Southern Comoros. First time in a signed document acknowledging us as a people. Number 2, and that this conflict will be discussed based on the root cause. Not marginalization, not language, not some distorted historical fallacies which, they are drinking at this particular moment. What's the root cause? Occupation, violation of borders and independence, in violation of Articles 20, paragraph 1 to 4 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and Article 4 of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, including the Charter of the United Nations, act of aggression. That's the root cause. Root cause is not the consequences of the root cause. When you have fever, it's not an illness. It's a manifestation of an illness. You can use paracetamol to bring down your temperature. But if that temperature was increased by cancer, you need chemotherapy. You can use paracetamol to bring down temperature. But if the illness is malaria, you need Evacuate. All what you are seeing, lack of roads, all these shenanigans are existing there. Those are the fever of the disease, which is that of occupation. Number 2, that Cameroon signed, release of all political prisoners. Sometimes people come out, they're playing this hide and seek, rub my back, crash your back, trying to change facts of issues, and I'm just laughing. Because one day, what I say to you today, one day you will read what they sign. They will be declassified. But the Canadians who are keeping it. If I'm telling a lie, let the Canadians who will listen to this come and say I'm telling a lie. Sign ceasefire, 2 weeks plus. Sign to dismantle roadblocks and certain checkpoints and certain barracks. So what is it that some of these guys want to tell you out there? That, oh, Canada was A, B, and C. Communication protocol, which they also signed. Number one, communication protocol. The Canadian Foreign Ministry will make the announcement about the talks. Ambazonia will follow. Then Cameroon will follow. Did you see Canada make an announcement? Did we come out and send out a communication which the three or four parties that took part signed? Did you see Cameroon's own? Plausible deniability? We aren't joking. What I put my hand inside leads to independence. I don't play politics with the lives of the Ambazonian people. The Ambazonian struggle is not where I profile myself. I am an Alabukam boy, an ordinary man con man. I don't need a podium. I don't need a platform. I don't need other people's issue to be relevant. I want to be relevant to my friends. I want to be relevant to my family, to my children, and to everyone that cares about me. If I want to wear a suit to make sure that you see me as important, I don't believe in that. To wear Pythagoras shoes that turns left and right, no. Sometimes it is my staff that will tell me wear this kind of tie. I don't care. With my t-shirt, with my boots, even with my shorts. I don't need the Ambazonian struggle to have $1. I'm hardworking. So when I see all of these people going out there telling these lies, trying to betray Ambazonia for whatever reason I don't understand, they want to invite us in this kind of micro data nonsense so that the enemy will think that, we are divided. We are not divided. We are united in our opposition to foreign dominion. We are united in our opposition to Cameroon. Those who want to exploit our struggle for their individual benefit, we have identified them. Don't allow yourself to be lied to, my people. Don't allow yourselves to be manipulated. Stand firm. Your decision to be free is anchored in the truth. Is anchored in history. Is anchored in your historical opposition to foreign domination. And let nobody tell you it is impossible. The men and women who scaled the beaches of Normandy knew they were going to die, and they died. Those who scaled it guaranteed for the generation thereafter the freedom that they now enjoy in Europe. You think when Kagame was sailing through Rwanda, he was not seeing dead bodies of Rwanda in 100 days. 1 million Rwandans were murdered. It didn't stop them. You know how many Eritreans died? Or you think freedom is these shortcuts, cunning that Cameroon has inculcated in our mindset? It is hard work. It is not meant for the faint-hearted. If you step into this game, you will become wretched. You will be rejected. You will be attacked. You will be humiliated. You will even be killed by your own. Those who betrayed Jesus were his disciples. Remain firm. There will be nothing other than independence. And that negotiation, if it will happen, will be done internationally as these guys sign in Canada. There will never be a discussion about the future of Ambazonia in Yaoundé. And we will, going forward, we will not even allow traitors, the Jongutes, to be discussing this matter. They are traitors. They send them to come and... Anyway, on a please day.